evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to Raising Excellence, one of the most valuable hours of your day. Today's show, do you have good body awareness? But before we get into the topic, let's talk to our other host. So let's talk first to our psychosomatic illuminator, Agnieszka,
Nice to be here, everybody. I'm looking forward to body awareness talk today.
and Willow, our trauma consultant,
Hi, everyone.
and finally, Dennis, our freedom facilitator.
Greetings, greetings. Thank you for being with us today.
I'm Michael, by the way, and I am an opportunity ambassador. But for those of you that are viewing us live, if you want to give us a question or a comment, feel free to. We will try and address it as we're going. And with that said, I will turn it over to Willow.
So I just realized that I did not change my name when I got on here. So my name is not Raising Excellence, but if you guys want to call me that, I respond to many names.
We're all raising excellence at heart.
Yes, that's the excellent. That's excellent. So hello everyone. I'm really glad that everyone's joining us for the second week. Yeah, second week of Trauma Uncovered. I lost my place where I was reading. The concept that I want to explore tonight is body awareness. And the first thing I wanted to start talking about was what the Body Keeps the Score calls housekeeping tasks. And these are like your eating patterns, your sleeping patterns, your digestion, and elimination, which of course means going to the bathroom, bowel movements, all that stuff we never want to talk about. And how trauma kind of interferes with the ability to maintain these housekeeping tasks. So, sorry, I had a bunch of stuff written down, and now my mind is like, but I'm not going to let you talk. What I had written down were some examples of how unresolved trauma interferes with the housekeeping tasks and why it's important because, I guess why the housekeeping tasks are so important is because without these things being properly functioning, you can't think logically. You're stuck in fight or flight. So you do need to be maintaining a regular intake of nutritional food, and we can talk more about what classifies as nutritional food. That was kind of a whole topic I wanted to touch on because everyone's different. Keeping track of like when you're going to sleep and what your sleep hygiene is. If you don't feel safe, you're not going to be able to do any of these things properly, and it's going to make everything just feel more intense. So some of the symptoms that happen with this are like flashbacks, which I'm sure a couple of y'all or everyone here has probably heard of, flashbacks of war veterans where they literally think like they have a mental image of what goes on and it flashes through their head and they experience the sensations. They lose their track of time. There's another kind of flashback that I just recently found out about, which is emotional flashbacks. And that is basically the same thing, except for sometimes you have a memory that flashes with it, which makes it a lot easier because then you understand the emotions. But generally, emotional flashbacks don't have a memory attached to it. So it would be like never remembering experiencing war. And then all of a sudden, when you hear a gunshot or fire, fireworks go off or a car backfire, you react as if you were in a war. And you're like, what just happened here? It's like that emotionally, where you react emotionally and you're flooded with all the emotions that your body went through at the time. Something also similar along those lines is intrusive thoughts. And I know we've all had those thoughts of like, what if I just said that thing that I've always wanted to say that kind of like ruffles everyone's feathers? That's not what I'm talking about. This was depicted another study in the body keeps a score. Sorry, it's a little difficult to talk about because these are uncomfortable. Like even just talking about it, my body is like, this is uncomfortable. We don't talk about these things. This is not okay. But it is. It's uncomfortable for a reason because they were unbearable experiences. So one of these studies was asking children to look at innocuous. Does that mean innocent? Right? Did I use that right?
Non-threatening,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, non-threatening, innocuous photos of like a father fixing a car, and he's underneath the car, and the little girl's handing him a wrench, and little boy's standing near the jack. And children who have not experienced abuse, they're like, oh yeah, they're fixing the car, and then they'll go get ice cream and go home. And children who have been through abusive situations, they will depict like the car is going to fall on him because that little boy is going to take that jack out from underneath the car, or the little girl is going to hit him in the head with the wrench. And it's like, you don't expect those things. Like as a child, you get to see them actually get expressed because the children don't have a fear of the reaction. Well, when you get to be an adult and you realize that saying those things or having those thoughts is really strange, even though you would never consciously or rationally act on them, even yourself, you are very disturbed by the things that go, that pop through your mind, and you're like, where did that come from? These are things that they totally disorient you. It takes you out of the reality of what is going on around you. So that's why today is really important, and why I wanted to spend a lot of time talking about the symptoms, because it's a weird experience to try and describe to people that you don't feel your body. The last symptom of this was a dissociative behavior, and this is where like you disconnect from your body at some point. Your brain can either separate itself to a certain extent where you're like viewing your own body or you're observing, and then it can also disconnect even farther to where you don't recognize your parts as your own. You recognize them as outside or external entities. Yeah. So yeah, that was all the talking or lecturing that I had to do. So if you managed to sit through that, I really appreciate it.
So let's step back to the housekeeping tasks. Now, let me just make sure I understand what you're talking about here. So these are essentially habits or practices that we do daily that like feed us and clothe us, and what we do when we go to sleep, what we do when we wake up in the morning, are kind of our general routine. Is that correct?
Yes, these are the habits that ensure the hierarchy of needs is met in appropriate order. So these needs require safety and a shelter, food and water, and a place to safely eliminate everything that goes through your body. They all rely on the base level of the hierarchy of needs.
So then when somebody is experiencing some disturbance, and it may not even be noticeable to them, it may be noticeable through these things. So like, for example, when's the last time you went to the bathroom? And it might be a couple days, right? Or something like that. And you'd be like, oh shit, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Or lost my train of thought. This is also what I'm experiencing is also another one. Depending on how much stress I'm under, my brain can go like super fuzzy, and it can go into like not a flashback, but like a disassociative, where it's like, no, I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else. And I can get distracted talking to those two parts where it's like, I know you want to be somewhere else, but we're here right now.
So what about body awareness? How can we even understand if we have good body awareness? Because the whole talk today is about body awareness, or the whole discussion. And you said that people who don't have good body awareness don't even know about it. That's tricky.
So that's kind of why I started out pointing out what flashbacks are, what intrusive thoughts are, and what dissociative behavior kind of looks like. Because if you are experiencing these issues, and also if you're experiencing problems eating regularly, sleeping regularly, digesting, or eliminating irregularly, it's very likely that you have a threat to your, or a perceived threat to your safety and stability, which triggers fight or flight, especially in complex post-traumatic stress disorder. This is a pre-programmed escape plan that your brain has been like, hey, this is how you get out of this. And when you start to recover from trauma, you start to say, I know that this is how you have always gotten out of this. Can we look at a different way?
So I can sort of relate to that because as a young 20-year-old, I used to, okay, so first of all, when I first grew up, and probably as a result of the traditional schooling system, I thought I would never make it on my own. Like I could never possibly have a job and make enough money to survive in a month. Like it was like absolutely for sure. So even though reality did not support that belief, I held it for more than 10 years. Like but there was no, like, reality really didn't, like, I was making money and surviving, but I believed I couldn't. So I used to be very afraid that my husband would die, because if he died, even though he wasn't really supportive financially or otherwise, but if he died, then I would be alone, and I could never make it alone. I can only make it if I'm with him, right? So there is this psychosis, right? And so then that translated into fears and a little bit of an obsession, like, oh my gosh, he's gonna die, especially if he was out late and he didn't come home on time or whatever. I was like, oh, that's it, I'm alone, this is it. And then he'd come home 3 hours later. So so that would be having, like, I didn't have a good body awareness because I didn't even at the time realize where it was coming from. Like, why am I afraid that my husband's gonna die? It's not because I'm gonna lose him, it's because I don't believe I'm gonna make it on my own. And why do I believe that? You know what I mean? There is all this breadcrumbs that you can go back to the origin of the fear.
I was just wondering upon that the kind of body awareness that you were describing, the Willow, is to me seems, or it sounds, I'm not sure if I'm getting it right, all related very much to the roots, to our basic instinct, energy, if you want so. And so I was thinking along the lines of, tapping into the other aspects of our being, of our beingness, and how that relates to our body awareness. Because above the root, the instinctive center, so to say, there is the center of our physicality. Like, and then I relate that, as a coach, as a personal trainer. Okay, there's like, how can I become aware of my physical body? Running, working out, doing exercise. So that is another way of becoming aware of, the physical being that you are. And then how can you, go further up, so to say, and bring in your emotional being as well. Like, how can you relate? How can you bring like a emotional energy into your physical body? How can you connect the two of them? They are already connected, but how can you make yourself aware of that? How can you use emotions to to raise the awareness of your physical being? And so now, then of course the next one would be your mind. How can you use your mind even to influence your physicality, and to influence it in a positive way, in a way that will enhance your physical being, that will enhance your life experience. And if you think about like how your thoughts can influence the other day we were talking about the lips, how even just through thoughts, through through the power of our mind, we can influence like the blood flow through our lips, and that counts to other parts of our body as well, muscles and whatever. Like, if you do exercises with intention, if you so to say warm up without doing physical exercise, but just thinking about the movements that you're about to do, that is already also a preparation for the physical exertion that you are about to make. So I was just thinking along, like, how we can get out of that purely instinctive relationship to our body, which is, of course, has its place as well and is necessary for survival. And how can we tap into our physical body awareness from a holistic viewpoint, considering all the different aspects of our being.
So I love the way you actually phrase that, because that set me up for the second part of what we were talking about, which is some self-soothing tactics. So I think that the best, this is my personal, this is how I approach it with my clients. I hesitate to say like all of my clients, because I kind of make the decision on how I'm going to deal with a certain person when I'm with them, because there's so much body language and individuality that you can't account for. So I don't like to be too general, but some of the, or most of what I do is addressing the issue. So I'd say if you're having trouble with the housekeeping functions, you're probably going to have an issue with like the root chakra. So like you were saying, like the root of the issue. And the best way to address that is to acknowledge it, that it's happening. There has been a, I need to find a better way to say pre-programmed, because pre-programmed doesn't really fit. It kind of describes what I'm talking about, but it doesn't quite fit. These escape plans, they're put in place for a reason, and when they're tripped, when they're triggered, they have to be disarmed. It's not like it just goes off for a certain amount of time and then it stops automatically. It has to be disarmed. You have to go back and enter the code and calm it down. And I think that's where like self-soothing, peaceful parenting for yourself and your children, inner child work for therapists, or in a counseling setting are good tactics. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about some of the self-soothing, some breathing exercises, which actually I don't know very much about, because that's not one that I have always felt discomfort doing breathing exercises. It makes me more panicked. So I don't have a lot of information on that one, but I figured that Dennis probably would have some information on breathing exercises.
But wait. You vape and you smoke, so that's breathing exercises.
It is. But if I'm not,
Smoke.
that's probably the only breathing exercise. That's probably why I'm into it, because I have trouble doing breathing exercises. It makes me feel panicked when I'm having to force myself to breathe a certain way.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Ben?
it is fascinating.
Do you have anything to add on this? Breathing issues?
Breathing issue. There's many, like from the perspective of a yogic tradition, there's many different techniques or ways of breathing, and they get really intricate. Like it's about the alternating breathing in and out through your nostrils. For example, there's the ujjayi breath, there's the fire breath. So there's a breathing techniques to achieve different goals, so to say. Some are more calming down, some will help you to focus or move around energy, like in a specific way that will help you to achieve the goal that you might have. And there's other ones, like with counting, where you have a certain count, breathing in, holding the breath, breathing out, which can help you to calm down. Some are really to energize you, like let's say in the morning, if you wake up and you want to energize again your physical body, then so there's a bunch of different techniques that apply again to different like I guess even times of the day or things that you're about to do. And it's quite amazing what those can do. And maybe like if you had negative experiences or associations with breathing techniques, maybe you just have not found the right one for the goal that you're trying to achieve. But I've had a lot of amazing experiences with using breathing techniques to calm myself down or to re-energize myself. And it is certainly something pretty essential to us, because breathing is something we can't last much, like most of us can't last long without breathing. And even just bringing awareness to the breath, that in itself could be considered a technique, to just sit with your breath and just watch your breath without consciously doing anything, but realizing that maybe it's not really you who is breathing, but maybe you are being breathed, because it's something that happens without you doing or thinking anything. It's just there. So that
Maybe
in
that's
itself
what we
can be
should.
a powerful exercise.
Maybe that's what we should talk about next week: is breathing exercises for different reasons.
That'd be
We don't
fun.
have to. I'm just saying,
I,
or you can do a special 1 hour special on breathing exercises where you teach us what to do for up and down. And Mike,
well, I was going to say, this is one like people that get into kind of tense or anxious moments, like if you're going to do a speech or you got to make a presentation or something like that, and you notice that you're either holding your breath or you're breathing really shallow and you're getting nervous and stuff like that. Just by taking a deep breath and breathing deeply, it can take your body out of that anxious state and really change your whole thing. And I know that a lot of the speaker people that do a lot of public speaking, they've got a whole kind of ritual that they go through that really kind of puts them in the mode. And a lot of it is like that, like prepping themselves with like the slow breathing, because like the slow breathing reminds the rest of your body that you're not in an intense situation, that you're not in like a fight or flight circumstance. And the fact that you're breathing deeply kind of like takes the rest of your body out of that mode.
so you know what I wonder? I wonder if what happened to Willow when she was little is she tried to calm herself down. And so she has a go-to breath. Like when I want to calm myself down, I go to this breath and it's a certain rhythm, right? It's like a specific rhythm. But now, as an adult, you feel it's almost traumatic. Like, oh no, I don't want to do that specific breath that I was using to calm myself down when I was upset as a child. Maybe you subconsciously use the same rhythm. So maybe if you tried Dennis's thing with a different rhythm, it wouldn't trigger you like that. You're speaking or muted?
Oh, sorry, I was speaking. I was like,
Her lips are
that
moving.
that definitely brought up a moment that I had not realized was so upsetting. I'm not even sure how it's connected, but it had to do with being little, and for whatever reason, I don't remember what it was. May have just been something stupid, but I was crying and I couldn't catch my breath, and so I was doing. You've seen all the kids do the
Hyperventilating,
like
yeah.
like hyperventilating, can't breathe, and then freaking out even more. And I remember being told to just breathe.
Yeah. Oh, you were angry about that, were you?
When someone's hyperventilating, what are they trying to do?
Just breathe.
Yeah, and so I don't know. Maybe it's the trying to get control of my breath when it clearly does not want to be controlled, or maybe I'm reacting. A lot of times, I was thinking this when Mike was talking. A lot of times, yes, it does. If you're not particularly triggered, if you're like on the edge of it, you can remind yourself that this is now, that was then, and you can get yourself together, and the breath does help. But when you're already triggered in panic mode, you're just trying to fight yourself to breathe. It's like, I keep going back to like it's a bodily function. You're trying to fight your body doing a natural function, and it's tightening itself up. It's preparing for something dangerous. So just telling it, putting food in your mouth and chewing isn't necessarily going to convince your body that you are safe. It might trick you for a moment and make you feel a little bit better, but it doesn't make the stress hormones go away. Unless you keep eating, which that's also a big issue as well. But yeah, it kind of it reminded me of how frustrated I was when I'm like, I'm trying to breathe, I'm trying to calm down, but I'm not, like, I don't know how to do that for myself. And I think that's where Agnieszka taught me the tapping exercise, and I went out and bought a necklace that was like a big coin that hung right there, and I'd take it and I would just tap over and over, no matter where I was or what I was doing. And it really did help. And sometimes still, like, a lot of people will do this when they're feeling, you know, like they need a little extra support. They gotta like put their hand on their heart. It's basically the same thing. But that actually calms the nervous system and helps the breath actually work. If I'm doing this and breathing at the same time, then it's more convincing. My body's like, oh, okay, I'm actually feeling calmer now. I understand what you're saying. Okay, cool. And also, part of the other self-soothing tactics I have written down is warm baths. So I found out that washing your hands and is this your forearm? I think so.
Yeah.
My mind is all fuzzy today. I'm like, wait, I want to ask and make sure that all my
that you know your body parts.
Yeah, because I do that
bone
sometimes.
Connected to your.
I do that sometimes. I get all fuzzy and I'm like, oh, I just know what this is, and then later on I'll feel embarrassed, and now I'm just like, oh, I'll just admit that I don't remember that all that well. It's okay. But washing your forearms and your hands in warm water will soothe your nervous system and help do that. You can do that while you're doing breathing exercises. And the last one that I wanted to, not the last one. Hugs and corner hugs, which is find a corner and put your back into it and then squeeze yourself. So it's a self hug. I just call it a corner hug because self hug sounds sad to me.
Cheesy.
And I don't like feeling sad. And I'm like, it's not sad to hug yourself. That's okay. We need to stop thinking that, oh, I'm so sad, I have to hug myself. It's not a bad thing. Weighted blankets and really comfortable clothes. Those are all excellent ways to self-soothe. When it's just too much. When you're like, I have had it. I can't do anything. I don't even want to move. Go do one of these comforting things instead of eating or going out to smoke the 8th cigarette for the day or pouring that glass, couple glasses of wine. These things, they do help calm you down a little bit.
Apparently, the current situation is breeding a lot of alcoholics. Because that's one thing that's not illegal in most countries. Drinking.
Yeah.
And Dennis, who's never had alcohol in his life, how do you feel about that?
How do I feel about that?
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Doesn't think about it at all.
It doesn't even enter his consciousness. He's like, alcohol what? You mean like a ferment? Like sauerkraut, right? That's what you're talking about?
Well, it's one less thing for me to do right now. To think hard of doing something now.
Nice.
In the current situation, I mean.
Okay, so let's go around the room and how do you recognize your own body awareness, and what are the biggest body awareness tips that you guys might have for us in eliminating trauma, because that's the theme of the week, right?
I will find that I'll get really tense in my shoulders or I'll be out of breath. Even if I'm excited and I'm out of breath, it may be because I'm trying to ignore the fact that my body is really, really tense.
Okay, Mike?
I would say just exercise, even walking around or taking a little walk. I mean, I live in a really nice location, so taking a nice little walk or even walking to the garage for me is a very pleasant experience. And so anytime you can kind of reconnect with nature and just kind of get in a rhythm of doing some physical activity, I think it's a possibility to kind of detach your mind from your physical self and regain control.
Nature definitely is a great one for me too, and then connecting what we touched upon earlier. Once I'm aware that I'm stressed and that things are not going the way I would love them to go, then connect to the part of your body that is under tension, and where you feel, where you get the signal very strong, and then relax. It's like go take your mind, go away from the location, take your mind off what is stressing you out, and then breathe into that part of your body. So if the shoulders is what's getting tense and you're aware of that, so that's the most important thing already. And then, use the breath and breathe with the awareness of that specific body part. And that usually brings release rather quickly to some degree. And then of course you can go more, you can go deeper into that. But I think that's like a starting point, is to be aware, to use your breath, which is what you're already doing. And then most of the time you will recognize that, my breath is rather shallow. So you want to do some deep breathing, and then you want to engage your belly, and you want to your lower back and breathe in fully, and then you bring the focus to that area of your body where the tension is, and then you observe and see what happens if you do that, for a few minutes, and then take it from there.
I've taken so many holistic classes that when he said engage your lower back and breathe in deeply, my body went. I'm so trained. I'm like, somebody says, think about your toes and breathe in deeply, and I'm like, my toes, I see them, I feel them. But you know what I do for enhanced body awareness, and this helps with breathing too? It's a very tricky thing. So what I do is I mix peppermint essential oil with some carrier oil, and I take that peppermint oil is magical, because when you first put it on don't put it straight on your skin. Never put essential oil straight on your skin. Always mix them with another oil. Cooking oil is fine. Any other oil is fine, as long as it's diluted a little bit so it doesn't burn your skin, because it can burn your skin. Most essential oils can. But take the peppermint oil, mix it with some other, and then just rub it on whatever parts are tense. And then so at the beginning it's going to be cold, then it's going to feel hot. You're going to be breathing in all that peppermint. Your eyes might water a little bit, but that's body awareness right there. You get when your shoulders are icy and then burning and your eyes are watering from the peppermint, that's how you know you're alive, right?
That is true. I'd like to add one more. I actually brought a couple of my items. So I feel like a crow. I collect little items that are shiny, and I even have a little box to put them in. So the physicality of holding them in my hands. So I got like little tokens. I think that has a wolf on it, and it's got some writing on the back about trusting your intuition, what it means. A little snake, and like little stones that they feel. It's all about how it feels to me, how heavy it is. This one is my favorite. It's a snakeskin agate, which is really hard to see because it's white and translucent. But depending on how I feel, this helps me be aware of what is like that I'm here, because I can feel it in my hands. I know what it is, so I'm like trying to map it out in my brain, and this helps me. It helps me calm down and gives me something to focus on. It's like a fidget spinner to me. Like, that's what I think of. So if you find something that doesn't just keep your anxiety at bay, but it actually is calming you, I would suggest holding on to like little physical trinkets and stuff like that. It really can. It's just a really good technique.
I got a new piece of tourmaline. Look at this. How cool is this? This got all sorts of texture in it.
Yeah, that is pretty. I just want to like roll it in my fingers.
Yeah.
It is the mind, really, right? When we're stressed out and when we're traumatized, it is the mind plays like a huge role in that. And to just like Mike was saying, to tap in our physicality, like maybe even like in a more extreme way, and to go run or like do like turn up the music and get like a really heavy workout in. So you can't like think about the problem, because you have to hit the bag, or you have to jump up and down and run, and so that is like it will distract you even momentarily. And that's might be like a more extreme thing, and it's like, you're not dealing with the issue, but right now, if you're overwhelmed by it, then maybe it is not the time to actually deal with the issue, because it's overwhelming you and you can't really process it right now. So so use your physicality in order to to ground you in a sense. And then when it's just like you say, like sleep over it. So maybe that's just another way, to just go to bed and sleep and wake up, and then things actually look a little brighter most of the time the day after, even if theoretically nothing else has changed in the situation. But just you put yourself in a different state. whether it's through, like a tough physical workout, or you relax with breathing with the oils. It's like it's changing your state. I think that's kind of like the secret. And all of what we have talked about, it seems to me that those are all methods that we can use to change our state, by physically feeling objects, or by associating with memory, or putting ourselves back, years ago to some like a space that we have been in that was really relaxing, and we kind of anchored it, with an object or with a specific memory that we have and that we recall. But all of those things are state changes. That's a quality in people that we seek out people as our friends oftentimes, also, that are able to change our states. Those are people that that we remember, like, and we hold dearly, if there are people that change our state to the
better.
positive.
Now you're touching on the last episode though.
So what?
It looked like Mike had something.
I've got a back scratcher / scorpion stick. This is what I use to like fling things, or any kind of bug that needs to get out, a snake or something like that. I can guide them out of the way. I can
Use a
also
back
scratch my
scratcher.
back.
Snakes, gorillas,
Oh, man,
scorpions.
that's great. Oh yeah.
Actually, that made me think of another really good physical technique that I use in my own life. I got a bristled hairbrush, and I actually, at the roots, like, brush through my hair, because I picked up around Christmas. It's got like a handle and then little wires that hang out like this. So as it goes on your head, it goes like this and scratches your head.
Yeah, like the scalp massager.
Oh my god. It's like I had a friend who was having really bad anxiety, and I just decided on a whim, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try and soothe her. And I was like, hey, do you want to see something really cool? And I went and grabbed it, and I did it on her head, and she was like, oh, it feels really good, but I don't know what to do. And she was like panicking, but she was like, oh my god, this feels really good, but I'm panicking. Oh my god, what's going on? And I was like, it's okay.
You were trying to get her from here to here in like a big jump, right?
Yeah, and she was almost there too. It was just hilarious to watch it on her face, because I could see it, and she was just like, I'm panicking because I'm being touched, but oh my gosh, it feels so good. This is soothing. What's going on?
That's awesome.
Something else that occurred to me, and I don't know, maybe everybody can talk about this a little bit, or just give me an indication. But I've noticed with this, this crisis that's going on, I've noticed in regard to my eating habits, I need a lot more sugary foods. I need some kind of dessert. I need ice cream or something. And I don't know if that's like a stress response that I've had recently. Has anybody else kind of experienced that thing? Or maybe it's the social media that's programming.
It is a stress response. If your body associates energy with sugar, mine does too. I will start craving pasta and sweets. But in reality, what my body needs is like eggs and bacon. Something high fat, high protein. And I try to actually stay away from the carbs, not for weight reasons. I'm 100 pounds, maybe.
What?
I don't have to worry about counting carbs like that, but it does.
Nobody has to worry about it unless you're on your deathbed and you have some allergy or something,
Yeah, true.
People choose to.
A good idea always is to drink a glass of water. If you crave for anything, just drink some water, and don't deprive yourself of it, but say, okay, you're gonna get it, I'm gonna give it to you, but just drink a glass or two of water and then see how you feel after. And then if you still want,
so you can eat less cake after 2 glasses of water.
Yeah, but oftentimes it's actually lack of water, and we don't recognize it, and most of us are actually running around dehydrated. So oftentimes we kind of we misunderstand the signals of our body, and we haven't learned to read them properly. So
I think I drink the most water during our podcasts, because I always have this cup in my hand, and it's like when you guys are talking, it's so soothing to just like,
yeah,
and it's cool in my throat, and it feels nice.
Sadly, I hit my vape most when I'm doing my podcast. I look around and I just see this cloud of haze, and I'm like, Oh, that's not good.
It's okay. It's all
Um,
good. Whatever
but
works.
back to the sugar thing. So the reason that okay, so your body runs off of sugar or fat. That's what it runs off of. Sugar will it's a spike. So, and I can't remember what it spikes other than blood sugar. I know that it spikes your blood sugar obviously because you're putting sugar. Um, but it's the way that the energy releases is it's like this. And you crash really
But you know
hard and then
what's
you have
a
to add more fuel. So you're doing this the entire time instead of eating fats where you just go up and you're even.
but
It
you know
keeps
what's a
you
perfect food?
Hmm.
Cheesecake. It's mainly protein.
Ooh,
It's got
love
cheese
that
and
cheesecake.
fat and eggs in it.
Cream cheese. Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
no,
besides
not
the
necessarily ricotta, depending on the cheesecake.
oh, true. I use cream cheese. But
Well,
I use
I
Polish
would just
cheese.
say I'm a person that doesn't like sweets too much. I mean, I'll get a quart of ice cream, every so often maybe, and have it until it's gone, and then it'll be a couple months before I'll get it again. But I've had like in the last 3 weeks, I can't resist. I got to get a quart of ice cream, and then I'll probably get a candy bar or something like that and stick it in the refrigerator, knowing that I'm gonna have one of those days where I need some sweets here. And
that's
it's
because
it's
it's part of your brain's job to develop the motivation and the energy. So if you have motivation to do something but no energy, it will prompt you to go eat something or ingest something that will give you energy. And if your brain only associates the most amount of energy with sugar, it'll be like, go eat something sugary.
I don't know. I've been
yeah.
craving sugar more than usual lately, and I've really enjoyed it. Like, I mean, I haven't judged myself for it in the last week or so. Mind you, also I had the womanly guest come in, so that could be why. But yeah, I don't think it's always necessarily bad. I mean, yes, if you're not eating sugar, it's bad. But if you haven't taken that step yet and you're still ingesting sugar like regularly, like eating occasional grains and stuff, then I don't know. If it makes you feel better and it doesn't kill you, you're good.
I had
Would be
Also,
spaghetti. I had spaghetti last night too. So who knows?
also all of these
Big pasta.
pastas and alcohol, they all reduce down to glucose. So sugar.
so connect that back to body awareness. Then is being aware of what your body is craving, maybe like being aware of what else has changed, in terms of, I don't know, the workload, or then again your sleeping rhythm, or what keeps you up and what occupies your mind. So it's an ever changing process, right? Like even the time of the year that we're in, the people around you, that influences you, what occupies your mind, all of that influences you. And then certainly that triggers also different bodily responses. And something I feel like really essential is that ability that we all have, but I feel that most of us have totally unlearned, or have never brought forth, or have never put our attention on, which is like our instinctive ability of knowing if something is good for us or not. And like food, I'm talking about food right now, nutrition. And because we have, even like down to our physical, like taste buds have been so like out of alignment through the processed foods, and through the overly sweet, overly sour, overly salty um, um, food that we have been exposed to since we are children. So it's super difficult for most of us to really to connect back and to be aware again of what our body really is craving for, and of what we really need again, because most of the so-called foods that we're exposed to are not natural. They're not like straightforward, I don't know, carrots or whatever, like a straight, a food that has not been mixed or altered in any kind of way. And that's a great way, I believe, also of tapping into body awareness, which is to experiment again then, and expose yourself, maybe for a meal, or like for a few days or so, um, to not mix up foods too much, but to kind of learn about the tastes of single foods again, and just eat one, whatever it is, whatever food it is, and eat that one food by itself, and really become aware of what it tastes, what it does, and what kind of reactions you have. Like holistically, like, what happens with your body. And then that's a whole different thing again, which is, it's actually not only your digestive system, but it has to do with magnetism, obviously, because you're getting reactions from your body as soon as you put food, not even in your mouth, but in your hand already. You can sometimes get reactions. Once you put in your mouth, there has no digestion, is barely even starting then, but you can, for some people it's like a grumbling in the belly. For somebody else it might be, a different physical reaction. Then you might get, some memory in your mind. So to just observe that is a whole different level of really relating to what you eat, which is, what will become you on a physical level also. And I feel that is an interesting approach to becoming aware of your body also, what you put into your body, because that again will become your body eventually.
As well as that ties in with Monday's episode about being aware of your patterns. And I'm actually kicking myself because I should have added cravings. That's something you're drawn to. That's a theme, that's a pattern that you're drawn to.
It's not ended. We're talking about it the whole week. So today is body awareness, and we're talking about cravings. It's all good.
True.
Nothing to.
But I just meant that when I was talking about like dreams and sensations and feelings, those are all examples of patterns, and so are cravings. Anything that you're drawn to that you are repeatedly doing, that's a pattern, and you're gonna see all of these overlap, because that's why it was really hard to separate into like the 3 different categories, because they can overlap so easily. And a lot of tasks, or not tasks, a lot of these exercises or self-soothing things can be done in tandem with other things. And we're going to add a whole bunch of whole section of them tomorrow to add on there. So
cool.
They say you are what you eat, but you eat who you are. You eat what you are as well.
I thought you are what you think.
I thought it was I think, therefore I am.
But just what ran to my mind is an observation, which is, if you would look at people, at least that's my personal observation. If you look at people that eat natural, whole, organic, unprocessed food as much as possible, and you would observe like how they behave, what they say, how they think, what they do, and who they are, then it is distinctively different from the behavior of people who will eat, I don't know, injected, genetically manipulated animals or non-animals, or food that has been highly altered. And it seems that there is maybe even like an impossibility of not having a severe shift or a change in your mentality, and even in your physicality as well, if you start looking more carefully at what you're putting into your engine, so to say. People spending extra money on putting the best gasoline in their car. So why not do the same thing with your body?
We even spend money on vitamins. We buy these expensive vitamins, and then next thing you know, you go to the store and you buy a box of Twinkies, and you're eating Twinkies while you're taking your $70 or $150 vitamins. Like, that doesn't make sense. But it's almost like it's rigged, because so Eric is trying to learn how to cook a little bit these days, right? So he comes up with recipes, looks up recipes, and he's like, okay, I want to try this one. And then he sent me the list for shopping, and I'm like, I'm not going to buy this stuff. Like, what is this? What are we, poor people? Like, what? Why would we buy this crap? And it was like pre-made salad dressing, dried herbs. I'm like, we have all these herbs. They're fresh in the refrigerator. Why do you need dried the same we already have? You know what I mean? Like, so, but the recipes are not geared for healthfulness. They're geared for ease. Like, it's going to be put together for 15 minutes. Like, so buy these 7 pre-made ingredients full of like cheap oil, cheap salt, cheap everything. Like, we go out of our way to buy really nice olive oil and really nice walnut oil to put in our food. And then this salad dressing has like canola and salt and sugar and things we don't normally eat. Like, I'm not opposed to eating a little bit of sweet, but I want it to be like simple, like whipped cream with just a little bit of sugar and nothing else. No chemicals, no additives, no crap.
I
Why
think
do you have
it
to have crap?
boils I think it boils down to the relationship you have with the things that you're putting in your body, and that just like I was going to tie this to like relationships where you can see when people are having when they have an unhealthy relationship. When it's clearly an unhealthy relationship, you can see it in when someone has a relationship with a person. You can see it when they have a relationship with food. And that all boils down to, how do you care about yourself? What is your relationship with yourself?
Well, and you can see it on their skin, you can see it on their hair, their nails, you can see it in their lips. You know what I mean? There's so many ways you can tell if somebody is like not treating themselves well.
But even the behavior too, and the way, people live. I mean, look at society, Western society especially, and then compare it to the food. Let's say, I don't know, they eat chicken that have been caged their whole life, that never see nature, never go outside, that have been forcibly injected, that have been fed all kind of GM and all kind of terrible food. And then look at the people. Like you can see that
Or
there's a
those
certain
stories about
similarity
salmon
between the
farms.
behavior
Have you
and
heard
the way
about the
of life of the.
salmon farms? Apparently, there are pools full
Mhm.
of salmon, and they put cow brains for food in them, and these salmon are all diseased and tumor ridden and stuff, and then they're sold like as salmon steaks, expensive, whatever.
I mean, that's what happens in feedlots. When I was living in Nebraska, there were 3 feedlots within a mile of my house. And
Must have
they're
been a
just,
great aroma.
oh, it was awful in the summer. In the summer, you were like, yep, I can smell Donovan 10 miles out of town.
In
Um,
Calgary was Cargill, but yeah, same thing. Mm.
but they just stand in a pen in their own excrement, and then they're pumped full of, hormones and vaccines to keep them from getting sick, which they
and
wouldn't
they, and,
need if they
and they
were
live in
allowed
fear,
to just. And they live in fear. And,
and
you
so do the
know,
people that eat them.
I was raised on a farm. I've slaughtered my own meals. Like, I mean, it's not easy. I'm not saying it's, we're just gonna go like kill the cow out in the back and then eat,
It's not killing a cow, it's killing Betty or Susie or Phil.
It's understanding that that's where your food is coming from, and they deserve, like, the meat changes. Like, it's not good. It has to be handled more, it has to be processed more, it has to be like inspected more to make sure that it's not diseased. It's not autonomously growing, or organically. It's not doing it, it's on its own. I think it I mean, if you're going to translate what we are, what we eat, they are learned
Fear
helplessness.
and fear.
Well, you
Learned
don't get
That's
learned
why I
helplessness.
said you
helplessness
also
from.
eat who you are, because if you're full of fear and if if you have that vibe, so to say, then you kind of instinctively look for that kind of food as well. That will enhance that.
I would say that I take the Wim Hof food eating approach, which is mind over matter. I'll take whatever is nutrients in this food. I'm going to accept it, and everything else get rid of. And I'll think that in my mind, even if I'm eating something bad. Um, and to me, I look at some of my ancestors, like my father, for example. He's 76 years old, and he doesn't eat very good at all, but he's healthy as hell, or for the most part.
It's a
And
huge thing, and that's larger than all the nutrients too, like the mental association that you have with it. Because if you grew up on, like, 3 pieces of steak every day, and that's what you associate with your strength and you stand in your power, if you have that, you take that away and you put a piece of salad there, then you're not you're not gonna get a healthy being out of that, because you still have that association. And that's just that's, I think, what you're pointing out. Like, I agree 100% to that. Like, if you have that association with the food, then you stick with that, because that's what
yeah,
is health for you.
I think that's like a lot of people that like bless their food and have like a prayer before they eat. I think that's a really healthy approach to essentially understanding that the food, if we're grateful for the food that we have, it just kind of puts us in a mindset that is much healthier than a lot of the other approaches, which like going to worry about what you're eating, or is it possibly going to poison me or something like that, that can lend to a lot of issues that like even if you're eating like 90% more healthy, could potentially put you in a worse place than someone that isn't, or that is mindful about just like having gratitude.
Yeah, once you take it in, you must not think that it's bad. Anything you put into your mouth, it is good, whatever it is, even if it's a, I don't know, McDonald's burger, whatever it is. So you have to have that, because if you cannot see that, then no matter, eat it, don't put it into your mouth, none at all. And then
Right.
it's even another dimension would then be like, who is preparing the food? That is a whole different thing as well, that was a, and is still like a big thing for me. Like if I, years ago, when I would come home like once per year or every 2 years, and there was grandma, and that was years ago still, when I was like, for example, trying out veganism, vegetarian, even like raw food. And then like once every 2 years or so, and I came home, and then there was Christmas dinner and grandma would prepare it. Nobody in the world could tell me that that's bad food. Because
Amen.
that's all, like, that's her, she expressing her love, with everything that she does, everything she is, everything she feels for me, like, is in that food. And that's just who she was, and how she was expressing herself to that. And that, that was just that, I was eating grandma's love, so to say.
Yeah, I used to love butter, and my mother would say, Mike, don't get in the refrigerator, you're going to get hardened arteries, and I said, give me some hardened arteries.
And the other way around, you could have somebody who's like, in a really, has a really bad energy or really low energy, and he might have the best ingredients ever, but he prepares the food and it doesn't taste like anything, and it won't do you good either. That's like, you could give the same ingredients to 10 different cooks, and you're gonna get 10 distinctly different tastes, and because it comes from different people that are at different states. So it's not just the ingredients, it's also who prepares it with what kind of energy.
That's why I'm glad that Eric is learning to cook, because when he cooks, he's like, do 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 do. This is so fun. I love this.
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, I think we're at the end of our time frame. But does anybody have
There was a
anything
time
before we?
frame. What? Nobody told me.
Yeah, yeah, we're trying to do that in respect of our audience, of course.
It's not related at all, but when you were talking about getting into the fridge and getting the butter, uh, for me, it was the semi-sweet dark chocolate chips. I learned my lesson though, because I thought I would get in there and I grab a handful, and then my grandmother would yell at me, and then I go in there and grab another handful, and finally I got smart and I just took the whole bag, and I tried to eat the whole bag too before she caught me, and that was not a fun night. I would never advise eating a whole bunch of dark chocolate and then drinking a big glass of water. The combination is not good. Please don't do it.
And then getting hit by grandma
You
all
know,
in one
Yeah.
night.
so
And my grandparents were for corporal punishment. They didn't skip out on that. Like, they never missed a opportunity. But actually, my grandmother didn't even, like, she didn't even lay a hand on me. She was like, you
punished
were
yourself.
learning your lesson now.
You know what my favorite snack as a child was? And I used to, because I grew up in Poland, so there's a lot of Polish sausage, right? And my mom worked at a meat factory, so we always had Polish sausage. So what I would do is I would take a chunk of the sausage, right? Like if there was like this much left, I would wrap it in paper and stash it at the back of the fridge. And then it would get really hard and dried, and you had to chew it. And then I would come home from school and I would chew on my really hard piece of sausage. That was my favorite thing. Of course, I'm a vegetarian now. I can't even eat sausage because I'm allergic to meat now. But my after school snack was plain kefir and a chunk of sausage that was like so dry you couldn't even bite to it. It's great. Unfortunately, my mom let me do it, so I had all my dried sausage bits in the back of the fridge, and she left them there.
Awesome. All right. So if nobody's got anything else, tomorrow's show talking about diets.
Sausage
What is your
again?
spiritual? What is your spiritual sausage diet?
It's not sausage.
No, just no sausage in there. Just spiritual diet. There's more to diet than just food. But
What
with
about
that
your
said,
thought diet? the diet of your
Exactly.
thoughts, what thoughts you engage in
Exactly.
tomorrow.
But I also want to remind everybody that we do have a website, and each of us is on that website. And so if you need to find out more information about any of us or any specific thing about a particular one in that regard, Willow, you've got some things on yours in regard to the website. You want to talk a little bit about what you might offer people that goes to our website?
So at all times, I offer one-on-one sessions for trauma, or even if you're just having, in general, issues. That's my main thing that I do. It's what I'm best at, and I like to stick to what I'm good at. I like being good at things. But I do offer a trauma checklist on there. So I know a lot of people, like myself, don't like to seek out help, like to do it themselves. And if you can, I applaud you, and I support that. Like, I really support people being able to do it on their own, because therapy is not cheap, especially through the conventional system. And so I made this checklist basically for anyone who is unsure about whether they need help, because there are certain times where you don't have the tools to handle this, and it might help to at least know where to look. So you can look at any of our information, reach out to anyone, and get some answers.
Absolutely.
Awesome. You can also find our links to Facebook, YouTube, our Periscope, and Twitter, right? And possibly some others. And I just want to remind everybody, we're on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 7:30 Eastern Time. So check us out tomorrow. We will be here, probably be 7:35 Eastern, right?
Probably.
Say
7:35
7:30 and they can wait with bated breath.
That's not fair. We should be honest. We're a little
We
late.
try to be on time, but sometimes things happen and technology.
Honestly, 7:35 is probably a better time.
Then 7:30. You think that's
Yeah.
energetically you can feel that number better?
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit different, you know.
7:35. Maybe we should change that everywhere.
Specific.
Specific. No, it's Eastern, not Pacific.
Eastern
I said
Pacific time.
I know.
Like spud.
No spuds on this show. Anyway, moving on.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time and attention. We hope this was helpful for you, and certainly come on back. And if nothing else, check out our website. Sign up.
And we appreciate you.
Brad.
So I'm going to play the outro now
Yes.
with no
Thank
sound.
you.
So there's music from Mr. Dennis. Okay, 1, 2, 3,
Hola.
go. What?
Why did it mute?
What? It muted him. Okay, bye,
Yeah.
everybody.